What's up, guys? Welcome back to Modern Mining. Well, I made the decision I'm probably gonna buy a couple more GPUs. If you've been watching the channel, you know that I was gonna sit on these 3 rigs for a little while longer to just wait and see what happens. Well, profits have gone up in the last week or so. I'm sure you've noticed if you've been mining. So that, along with a couple other factors, have kind of made my decision that it's time to expand a little bit. So today we're gonna do some preparations. I'm gonna discuss which cards I'm looking at and why I finally made the decision to buy a couple more GPUs. Let's take a look at what I got going on. As you guys know, I'm super big on budget home crypto mining. That's why all my frames are made out of wood, and I try to do everything essentially as cheap as possible because my main kind of motto is any dollars that you're spending on anything other than hash rate are essentially a waste. You want to be spending every single dollar you can on hash rate and reducing every other dollar that you spend on your mining farm. So the reason why I'm thinking it's a good idea to expand, one, obviously profits are up, but two is that, let's take a look at these motherboards. On this motherboard, I've got 3 extra PCIe slots where I could fit 3 more cards. And I also have, that's not the right drawer, a bunch of PSUs that I could use. So I'm good on power supplies. I'm also good on power supply cables. So that means if I got 3 more GPUs for this rig, my only cost is the price of those GPUs. I also have plenty of power on this 30 amp circuit I ran. I can still do another 3,000 watts, or if everything's on Kapow, another like 1,500 watts. So I've got plenty of power, and I have all the supplies I need besides the GPUs. So thinking of optimization, it makes sense to, since I've already purchased all this other supporting hardware, it makes sense to max it out with GPUs. So this rig, I'm looking to get maybe 3 more GPUs. And this rig as well, if you look, it's already got 8 on here, but I could put another splitter card on this long slot and I could get an additional, that one's already on there, so I could get additional 3 more GPUs on this rig as well. So I could technically get 6 more GPUs in my farm and only have to buy the GPUs, no other supporting hardware. So that's what I'm gonna do. It's gonna be a long-term process because I'm not looking to spend insane prices on graphics cards. So it's gonna be a long process of messaging people on Facebook Marketplace, scouring eBay, and trying to get as cheap GPUs as possible. Now, you guys all know I love the 3060 Ti's and the 3070s, specifically at a 250 to maybe 275 for a 3070. In that price range, that's the sweet spot. Those are the main cards I'm looking for, but I was doing some searching yesterday and I found 3080s on eBay for $400 or $420 after tax. Now these are the Dell versions. So generally Dell versions, the coolers are kind of not as good as like Asus or EVGA cards, but I'm trying to remember from the Ethereum mining days, I for some reason thought that the Dell 3080s were really not that bad. I mean, all 3080s kind of had memory temp issues, but I don't remember the Dells necessarily being worse than the other ones. Let me know your guys' thoughts on that. There's Dell 3080s available on eBay right now. So I may just get one of those and kind of test it out. Nowadays, it seems like all we mine are core algorithms, so those cards probably are gonna work totally fine. Now that we've discussed the cards, the supplies, I'm gonna do some renovations to these rigs because if you noticed, these things are maxed out on the current frame. So even if I did get new GPUs and I have room on the motherboards, but the frames themselves do not have extra room. So I'm gonna be expanding these wooden frames, and that's kind of the great thing about building frames out of wood is they're super customizable. So I'm gonna expand those, make them a little longer so that I can fit an additional 3 cards on this rig and that rig, And then over the coming month or two, hopefully sooner than that, I'll start getting some of these cards in. I'm probably not gonna go for 6 immediately, but I do wanna get at least 2 or 3 more when profits are on the rise and kind of before people start rushing in to buy GPUs, assuming profits keep going up. Let me show you the wood I got. It's $4 per section. I got 3 pieces, so $12 to expand 2 mining rig frames. That's the kind of budget thinking that this channel runs on. Here is the wood I got. I believe that's 8-foot sections and $4 a pop. So this should be plenty, and I might even have an extra, but you can see the dimensions on there. I think it's maybe, I don't know, 1.5 by 1/2 inch. Honestly, I have no idea, but I'll put some videos from Home Depot because there's like a crappier version of these, and then there's the nicer ones. And you definitely want to go with the nicer ones because they're a lot straighter and less warped, and that's going to be annoying when you're building rigs. Let me show you the plan on here. This rig should be easy. I'll just have to take all the cards off, and then I'll need to unscrew that screw, and that screw, and the one on the other side for the support beam, and then just cut longer ones so I have room for 3 more cards, and they'll just overhang the side of the frame, kind of like this one already does a little bit. It overhangs the main frame, but unfortunately I'll need to expand this one more. This one's gonna be more challenging because I use brad nails instead of screws, because obviously I was splitting the wood pretty bad using screws. So I got smarter, but it's also gonna make this a lot harder. To make it even worse, if you can see that, there's glue that's also attaching those posts. There's a good angle of it. So I'm not gonna be able to just snap that off. I'm probably gonna have to cut it with some sort of saw, cut through that brad nail. And the exact same thing for the support beam. I'm gonna have to cut through it. But let's get into it. So to estimate how much extra or how much bigger I need this piece of wood right here, I'm gonna look at these 3 cards and kind of get an idea. So from the start of one card to basically the start of the 4th card, that's the amount of extra wood I need. So that's 11 inches on the dot, and this is already 27 inches. So I need to expand this to 38 inches. And you can see that I already moved over this rig. I had them up here, but my vice grip was getting in the way, so I did push them all back, and that gave me some expansion room. And over on this side, it's not as big of a deal because it overhangs the table, so that should be okay. So 38 inches, that's gonna be my goal. Let's compare that to this rig and see. So start of the 1st card to the 4th card is 12.5 inches. Obviously these cards are either a little thicker or a little more expanded out. So 12.5 plus 27.5. So basically 40 inches. So that one, I might as well make them both 40 inches. I'd rather have them be more room between the cards. Now another thing I like to do is see if I can get it in perfect increments of the fan size of a 140 millimeter fan. So these are exactly 5.5 inches. So what does 40 divided by 5.5 give us? And maybe 38 inches actually ends up better. So 7.27, 38 divided by 5.5, 6.9. So let's try 39 divided by 5.5. That's the money right there. All right, we'll make them both 39 inches. I think that's gonna work good. Okay, let's turn this off. Now, I'm gonna try to keep all these cards in order because I don't wanna mess with my flight sheets and overclocks. And so to do that, I'm gonna have to keep the risers in the general same spot. And I also wanna make sure I keep these 3 power supply wires off the side and these ones off the side so I don't mix any wires. But let's get started. So start unplugging all these. Another reason I'm doing this, expanding these rigs instead of making another one, is I'm sure you guys have heard about the new Hive OS changes. So a 6-card rig costs the same as an 11-card rig. So I might as well fit as many cards on these rigs as I can. Obviously, that's in addition to obviously not having to purchase more motherboards and CPUs and all that. But that's another reason to do it. I'm gonna lay these out in order. Should make things easier putting it back together. Now, I think I'm just gonna do this rig for now. I'm not gonna mess with cutting this one up in this video. It's gonna be too long. But once I get 3 new cards, then I will get that rig updated to accept 3 more whenever I'm ready to get 3 more. So it'd also be a pretty good opportunity to blow out some of these cards. That PNY 3060 Ti is pretty dusty in the fins. So I'll probably blow that one out and maybe some of the other ones. I can set these 2 up here. Because summer is coming quick. And anything I can do to get these cards colder during that is going to be helpful. One's a little dusty too. I'll get some clips of dusting them off. So let's flip these back if we can, trying to keep the order if possible. That worked pretty good. Now we'll unscrew and we'll keep our numbers in place. We can maybe stick those on the new piece of wood. So let's see, these fans are, only one screw was stuck into that top board. Nice, all right. You can see how many times I've swapped cards around on this rig. I mean, look at all these holes. But that's another great thing about wooden frames. They're just extremely customizable. While I was at Home Depot, I should have gotten some skinnier screws. That way I didn't have to split these next pieces of wood I get, but I'm not gonna go any bigger, so I probably will use brad nails to put these back. Okay, let's cut our new ones at 39 inches. All right, got those cut. Let's look at the before and after. So, dang, that's gonna be long. So, that's the before, and that's the after. So, should be definitely enough room to fit 3 more cards. Now we want to get this centered and then we'll put some nails into it. This part's always a little bit annoying trying to get it centered. 6 on this side, 5 3/4. Okay, right there centered. Get it straight. I am gonna flip it over. There's a little bit of a notch right here, so okay, secured, easy. Let's do this one now. Sometimes you can just kind of eyeball this one to get it lined up properly. It should be good enough. Okay, there is our new frame. Took all of 2 minutes. So we'll flip these back over, and I'll keep these centered in the fans for right now. Or do I want to do that? I probably will just move them all the way to the edge, assuming I can. The one thing with this is you might need to buy longer USBs and move some of these cords like out around the frame, like this one. Like, this one's pulling pretty hard. Just gonna put them back in the center for now, and then when I get new cards, I'll also get a pack of maybe some longer USB cables, and that should work out fine. Start putting these cards back on. This was the first one. Now that this frame extends further than the support bar, you want to make sure that you don't line up an IO bracket directly in front of this bar, because otherwise that's going to basically block all the heat from being able to come out. I'm using self-tapping screws to put these in, and I think that helps with the cracking issue. It's not going to lead to as much cracks because it's kind of like drilling the hole out before it actually starts. These two cards are clean, but let's go blow off some of these other ones. If you guys don't have one of these, I'll put a link in the video description. These are super nice, just a portable blower, and honestly great for cleaning out GPUs instead of having to use canned air. So I'd ideally do this outside, but I'm too lazy to get an extension cord, so. You know what I will do though is turn on my handy new exhaust fan and hope that that kind of sucks out some of that dust, because that one was pretty dusty. Raise up our fan. Open our intake. Now I won't have to breathe all that dust in. This is the super dusty one, so we can get a good shot of this. You can always tell when the person I bought this from like vaped, because sometimes the dust will just smell like super fruity, like they were just hitting on some sort of fruity vape. So, okay, that one, I wish I got a before and after. That looks awesome now. Plug the wires back in and hopefully everything works. You never know when you take it all apart like this. Okay, looks like everything is spinning. I was getting a little nervous using that blower. I try to hold the fans somewhat stationary so they're not going a million miles an hour when you're blowing them out. But so far so good. Let me pull up Hive OS and I'll check and make sure everything looks good. That's gonna be nice. So I'm gonna have to buy 2 more fans. I've got cheap ones, but just for simplicity, or just to make it look a little nicer, I'll get the same ones, and they're high speed too, so that'll help. I'll get exactly 2 more and they should fit on there perfectly. So for anyone wondering, 39 inches, should be able to fit 11 cards and what is that, 7 fans pretty easily. All right guys, that's it for today. I am prepped for at least 3 more graphics cards. Let me know what you guys think about that Dell 3080 idea. Don't buy them all before I can get my hands on one, but I think it's relatively good price, and probably gonna do that pretty soon, but let me know what you guys think. Peace.